this, but I didn't get an opportunity to get my tweet typed out to do another partial right below here, right below these relative equal lows. You hit that and immediately started running higher. The last line of defense I had here, which was the 15,387.5 level, which is consequent encroachment of these two blue lines, which is this imbalance, this big candle here. It's framed by this candle's low and this candle's high, and you guys know what that is. That low, when that candle comes to that very level, to the tick, it's 15,387.5 is the low, and you'll see that right up here. See this figure right here? Look at this candle's low right there. There it is, 15,387.5. Folks, that's perfect. That's algorithmic. That's not made up. It's not contrived. It's exactly how I teach you the market's going to book. It rallies back up there. Also, it's essentially this candle's high, that candle's low, halfway point of that too. So there's a double-edged sword there for confluence. And the market does in fact start to rally again. And I wasn't in the market here. I wasn't watching anything here, but did run up, take relative equal highs, and traded back up into that 30-minute fair value gap into consequent encroachment of that gap as well. Worked around that level, and then finally back down into that 15,387.5 level for the afternoon going into 3 o'clock. And then basically this chopped wood around there going into the close at 4. And then we've seen so far is this consolidation in a market that doesn't have any kind of advantages that we should be worrying about going into tonight. So keep your powder dry. Expect a lot of fickle price action. That means uncertainty and a lot of frustration. Okay, if you're trying to force a lot of things to happen right now before the rate announcement on Wednesday, you're gambling. Don't do that. Don't use maximum leverage. Expect cleaner price action and symmetry to return back on Thursday and Friday. Until I talk to you tomorrow, Lord willing, be safe.
You have become the wealthiest man in the world.
It was fine being the second wealthiest person in the world. That actually worked fine.
What propelled you to sell things more than books?
I thought to myself, we can sell anything this way.
Who came up with the idea of Prime?
What happens when you offer a free all-you-can-eat buffet? Who shows up to the buffet first? The heavy eaters.
There are some people who criticize some things that the Washington Post says.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Would you fix your tie, please?
Well, people wouldn't recognize me if my tie was fixed, but okay. Just leave it this way. All right. I don't consider myself a journalist, and nobody else would consider myself a journalist. I began to take on the life of being an interviewer, even though I have a day job of running a private equity firm.
One of my high school physics projects was to build a small rocket. Mine went really high, but instead of being glad, I remember thinking, how could I have made it better? And the desire to satisfy that curiosity is part of the reason why I chose to be an engineer.
How do you define leadership? What is it that makes somebody tick?
Your stock is actually up 70% this year. Is there one thing that you think is responsible for that? Or several things, because 70% is pretty good.
No, I have been lecturing. We have all hands meetings at Amazon, and for 20 years, ever since we've been public, 21 years now, in 1997, at almost every all hands meeting, I said, look, when the stock is up 30% in a month, don't feel 30% smarter. Because when the stock is down 30% in a month, it's not going to feel so good to feel 30% dumber. And that's what happens. Never spend any time thinking about the daily stock price. I don't.
Okay, so as a result of going up 70% this year, you have become the wealthiest man in the world. Is that a title that you really wanted, or not? Is it a burden?
I can assure you I have never sought that title. And it was fine being the second wealthiest person in the world. That actually worked fine. It isn't a, I would say it's something people naturally are curious about. You know, it's a kind of an interesting curiosity, but it's not, the thing I would much rather if they said like, you know, inventor Jeff Bezos or entrepreneur Jeff Bezos or, you know, Father Jeff Bezos. Those kinds of things are much more meaningful to me. And it's an output measure. If you look at the financial success of Amazon and the stock, I own 16% of Amazon. Amazon's worth roughly $1 trillion. That means that what we have built over 20 years, we have built $840 billion of wealth for other people. And that's great. That's how it should be. I believe so powerfully in the ability of entrepreneurial capitalism and free markets to solve so many of the world's problems. Not all of them, but so many of them.
So you live in Washington State, in Seattle, or outside of Seattle. Now, the man who was the richest man for about 20 years is named Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And what is the likelihood that the two richest men in the world live not only in the same country, not only in the same state, not only in the same city, but in the same neighborhood? I mean, is there something in that neighborhood that we should know about? And are there any more houses for sale there?
After I saw Bill not too long ago, we were joking about the world's richest man thing, and I basically said I said you're welcome, and he immediately turned to me and said thank you. But no, Medina is a great little, it's a suburb of Seattle, and I don't think there's anything special in the water there. And
right.
I did locate Amazon in Seattle because of Microsoft. I thought that big pool of technical talent would provide a good place to recruit talented people from, and that did turn out to be true. So it's not a complete coincidence. There's some correlation there.
Do you go into a store, when you want to buy something, do you have to put a credit card down? You just say, I'm Jeff Bezos, and they send you the stuff? How do you do that? And do you have to carry cash around?